It is Tuesday, January 7th. Jesus Christ, I forgot what month it was. 2025. Holy shit, this podcast is still going in the year of our Lord, 2025. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hosts, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined, as always, by our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to the folks out there.
Adieu.
Oh, Jesus. We appreciate people who chat along with us in the Discord and who will follow along with our NFL playoff bracket challenge later this season. Coming up here starting on, Saturday is the first playoff game. We also like at Levi Oki Illustration, who pumped out another beautiful art piece for the Champs League this year. Trophy still pending. Hopefully get that done, I don't know, as soon as fucking Mr. Sterling gets it done for me. And then, Josh, how are you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm here, which is, something, I guess. How are you, Gar?
I'm doing all right. This seems to be more one of your shorter, more melancholy days. Is everything all right? Is Odin still suffering? Is Bradley still suffering? Or Bradley, sorry, he just texted my phone. Is our Joshy Poo still suffering? What's going on, buddy?
Well, I'm not. I'm just sleepy. Odin's not necessarily suffering so much as he is Odin. Last Friday, brought him in to get his stitches taken out last Friday. Get home. I work from home. Go out there. I look and I don't know. Well, did I share this already? Maybe it wasn't last Friday. Maybe it was the Friday before.
Either way,
time
go ahead.
Time
Who
flies.
cares? Yeah.
Well, he's just standing there and look at his leg, and I was like, "Huh, buddy, why is your leg red?" And that little stinker ripped open his wound. So yeah, he had his stitches out for a solid 8 hours, and then decided, you know what, this needs some fresh air, and just not bleeding. So brought him in, panicking obviously because just got his stitches out.
Yeah.
No, there's no blood, which great. But it's just, he has a gaping wound. Well, bring him in. Vet's like, yeah, thank you for bringing him in. And everything looks fine. And I looked at her and I was like, can I get a vet that may or may not be able to legally drive because their eyes aren't bad? But she said that the skin underneath the lower layer of skin is healed completely. The outer layer just tore apart. So I just got to wash him with some sort of antibacterial stuff daily for the next couple of weeks. Make sure it doesn't get infected.
I believe in you. So, but overall, a scare with not much behind it.
Yeah, pretty much. So he's allowing that, and just the last few nights, I've been a little bit stressy pooed, I guess. I don't even know about what. But stayed up till 1:30 2 nights ago, just laying in bed, and then 2:00 last night, just laying in bed. So I'm a little sleepy-pied.
Oh no, Joshy Poo! I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Well, we'll get through this podcast and hopefully a non-traumatic fashion to get you on your way in a relatively peaceful manner. But yeah, so that's why I think I saw a snap that Odin had to become a funnel boy for a bit. Is Odin still rocking the funnel then, or no? Or cone, excuse me, whatever.
Yeah, he's still rocking that. He should have been rocking it, or he has been rocking it for a while, but he should have had it on. I let him enjoy some freedom after getting the stitches out because I said, yeah, if you're home, you don't necessarily need it. Just make sure he doesn't lick it. So I don't know if he licked it or if when he had his cone off, he just walked around a little bit more and bumped it on something. But
sure.
Either way. But yeah, how are you, Gar? How's life?
I'm doing just fine. I talked about this last week, but we rang in the new year. Not at Donnie's house, but at a different friend's house. So that was just a new thing. That was just a transition for old me, So, the times there are changing. That's what they say, and it is what it is. But we're happy that it's 2025. It's kind of crazy that it's 2025. And yeah, I don't know. Things are okay. I feel like for whatever reason this year I'm not necessarily hit as hard by the big seasonal affective disorder, which I find to be a blessing. That, or I've been so consistently depressed that I can't tell the difference between seasons now, which I don't think is the case, but I guess statistically or realistically is possible. But no, we feel good, and Not that 2025 is going to necessarily be more exciting than any other year, but NFL playoffs are here. The Vikings are fucking toast, and that's all that matters.
Toast? What are you talking about? They put up 9 points on Sunday night.
Yeah, we can get into it. I don't necessarily have to call it a taco, but Josh, that Vikings Lions game was. It's not even that they lost. I would have been perfectly fine with the Vikings losing. The Lions are a good team. Obviously, after Sunday night, we have it's pretty solidified they are the better team. Not that they weren't already. But yeah, it's how we lost. It's the embarrassment factor, I think. And yeah, we got to just a team that wasn't ready. And, I've tried to hedge my bets all season long. I allowed myself in the past couple weeks here to ride the wave a little bit more and just enjoy it. And just as soon as I open my heart up, it's broken. So it is what it is. Sam Darnold was a little yippy. And, the Viking, I believe in Kevin O'Connell. I believe in the organization. I believe in Kwesi, all the things. But this year was never going to be our year. And I find it unlikely we beat the Rams. If we do, again, we're not a Super Bowl team. It doesn't matter. So, but it was fun to watch a team get 14 wins. I mean, no one can deny it's fun to sit there and watch your hometown team have a 14-win season, even if it's more fluff than substance, But that's how I feel. The Vikings were kind of a taco this past weekend. Do you see any tacos out there, Josh, or do you want to opine on the Vikings performance as well?
I would be much more inclined to ridicule your team for losing in the fashion it did if my team didn't lose to the Bears.
The Bears.
That being said, your team's loss sent you down. You're now only at 100 points differential, 100 points positive, and Green Bay is 122. So hang the banner, Green Bay. Congrats. But yeah, losing to the Bears is one of those things that I haven't necessarily had to experience very often. First time in 11 games. So what, 7 years or 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years.
But,
or 5 years, 5.5, however that works out.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Make-A-Wish came through for whichever kid in Chicago decided to write that in. But yeah, overall, I mean, taco-wise, yeah, I mean, Darnold looked like Darnold of old, which
seeing ghosts out there potentially
not a good thing moving. Yeah, he saw Kirby Joseph biting kneecaps. But then, I also feel bad. I don't even know if it's a taco moment or if it's just me having a little bit of pity for the Vikings fans. You got a linebacker named Van Ginkel, and then look on the other side, and it's like Anzalone, and you look at the two white dudes, athletic, long blonde hair, and then when they take their helmet off, you got Sir Handsome Face wearing the Honolulu blue, and then Shrek wearing the purple. So
King Dingus.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, well, just kind of the writing's on the wall there.
Sure.
But no, I was just like, they look so much alike, except Ginkle looks like a Ginkle. But yeah, other than that, it's playoff time. I wasn't as upset about the Packers losing as, because they were already locked in, but it is still the Bears, so it is a little bit embarrassing.
Embarrassing?
Yep. Yeah. You sent that video, so I had to go out and I had to find one to send back. I don't know if you listened to it. It was actually a decent song.
I was too busy getting ready for the playoff bracket challenge here. I'm sure you got your text has rolled in, and now I've had a bunch of texts rolling into me, but no, I have not had a chance to listen to it. But I thought you would find the humor in that. That guy puts out a song like every week. I'm surprised I didn't post a song every week, but that one, of course, was a little extra special because of the Packers. But do you, Josh, obviously, I was watching the game myself for a while, and, of course, the Packers put in their backups after a while, but Christian Watson goes down. I think it came out today, ACL officially torn. or MCL or whatever it is, some sort of bad non-contact knee injury. We all watched him just kind of fall over, which was really unfortunate. Do you have any concerns about how the Packers were playing before they put their backups in? Because I don't think they were necessarily like stomping the Chicago Bears were not doing great. Like they were getting their like special team flukes more than anything else. But or are you concerned about how the starters played when they were playing on Sunday, or do you think this team is ready to go for? I forget who they're playing off the top of my head, but are you concerned at all? Or do you think they'll do just fine against the Eagles this Sunday or Saturday or whenever they play?
I don't know. It's hard to say. They didn't play their best game to start, but they didn't like you said. They took the starters out in the early second quarter. I think is when both Watson and Love went out early to mid second, and then they had Jake. I don't think Jacobs had seen the field quite a bit before then, so it was one of those things. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but hopefully losing the last 2 weeks of the season gets a little fire in their butt, and they go into Philly and make them eat poop, and then after that they go. After that they go into Detroit and they make them kitties purr, and then after that they go to the bank and they pull off a heist, and then after that they go to New Orleans and say, "Hey, this place looks familiar," and then they win it.
Just like that, huh?
Yep. Yeah, I've got the Packers versus the Packers in the Super Bowl. It's just going to be a scrimmage because the AFC is just going to say, no, thank you.
Have I ever called you stupid before?
Yeah, but they were stupider.
Okay. So, I mean, overall, do you the game went the way it did? Would you have preferred they tried harder and try to get that 6th seed so they'd rather be, or so they instead be playing Tampa Bay? I assume you would think the Tampa Bay matchup would be much better for the Packers than the Eagles. Of course, Jalen Hurts is the question mark, but do you care all about the matchup, or are you just like, we're in the show, it doesn't matter?
I wouldn't have mattered anyways because Washington beat Dallas. Washington would have had to lose for us to get the 6th seed. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you look at that, but Baker's been baking lately, so I'd rather go against the I guess personally I'd rather go against the Big Doms and in Philly. They beat us earlier. Let's take that back. Like I said in the group chat, we're just gonna go back and we're gonna beat every team that beat us in the regular season that's in the playoffs.
Okay, King. I see you. But okay. All right. So I was just interested on your thoughts on that. What else do we got here? I clicked away for just a second. We can go over the NFL player exchange real quick. I'm not going to sit here and go through all the players, but not shockingly, the standings did not change at all from the past 98 weeks I've been doing it. Josh, you did come in first place, and you every time I did it, you pulled away a little bit further. Josh, you had the highest points per game. You had the highest total value. I sold everyone in your portfolio after week 18, and you have a total of 195.44. So you essentially doubled your money. We all started with 100. I was in second place with 163.28. Al was in third place with 149.51. Brian was in fourth place with 144.39, and he actually regressed just slightly, just 4 100ths since we last did it, so he pretty much stayed flat. Brad was in fifth place at 112.22. He also regressed just a bit, just a couple points there. And then Walters, who had closed his portfolio, I don't know, many moons ago, he stays in dead last at 110.45. But everyone made a profit, so at the end of the day, I'm sure everyone's happy that they took 100 fake points and made it into more fake points than they started with. So no real losers except for everyone except Josh,
That's why I took my 401k and put it into Fidelity so I could start trading stocks just because of this.
Oh, bro. All right. You're going with Fidelity and not going straight Robinhood, huh?
No.
No, you don't want to ride GameStop and AMC and all the other meme stocks anymore?
No. I'm only on the big ones, them underground pennies to thousands.
Pennies to thousands. He's going to be the new Wolf on Wall Street. All right, Josh. So that was that. We can also look at the season-long studs and duds. It looks like you were handsome and not kind enough to update that for us one more time. Do you want to start, Josh, or would you like me to start?
You can start because I had the season predictions up because technically it is a season prediction. Never mind, my computer went faster than I expected. So here I am. So going into this 2024 season studs and duds. For those of you who don't remember, we picked players that we thought were going to do good and thought that we were going to do bad. As per usual, you stunk. No, I'm just kidding.
How dare
I don't
you?
know. This year it was interesting because I went back. I actually did go back today and I looked at kind of like 2023's final standings as far as points go. And it looks like we did do end of season total points. So for week 18 games and everything, which is whatever. Because
it's consistent.
if that's what their projections are based off of, that's great. So I went back and I updated the number. So it is a little bit different than what it was before. Some players, Jordan Mason,
Go ahead. Didn't change.
he's the only one that he's the only one that didn't change, I think, because he was an IR. Other ones got more points, obviously. The big, if you want to talk, I mean, you had the second biggest difference if you look at studs and duds, but you definitely killed it in the studs this year. If you want to talk about yours, I guess I don't know how you wanted to do this.
I mean, we can just go back and forth. I'll just go through all. We don't have to sit here and do everything. I'll just go all my studs, and you can do all your studs, and we'll do all the duds and all the duds. So my stud QB was Baker. He was projected 284.6. His actual was 410.8. That was the biggest swing that Josh was talking about. That's a differential of 126.2. That's pretty studly of Baker. I could see it. I knew the potential was there. My stud running back was Jordan Mason. He was rostered in 20% of leagues to start, or he's drafted in 20% of leagues, essentially. He was projected 82.7 on the year, and he got 115. Obviously, that would have been much higher had he not had the injury, but that's part of the game. So that's a plus 32.3 for me. My stud wide receiver was Michael Wilson, rostered only 18.6. He was projected 142, and he was not studly. He was more flat. He got 124, so a negative 17.5 point difference. So not overly dudley, but technically for this game, how it goes, he was a dud. And then Cole Kmet was my stud tight end. He was projected 113.7, and he got 120. So again, technically a stud, but mostly flat with projection. He got me a positive 6.7. So really, Baker is carrying my entire stud differential. He had 126, and my entire stud differential was 147.7. So it's nice to be on the positive side of things,
Yeah, and I will say that I even remember back to when we did this episode, and I said, yeah, I was going to go with Baker, and then I saw you had him in there, so I went with Matt Stafford. Wish I would have just copied you. Matt Stafford finished 28, almost 29 points under his projection. He's projected 281. And so I had him he was the 21st ranked quarterback according to ESPN when we did this. I don't know what he finished at because I didn't take the time to actually do that. My best pick was Tyrone Tracy, or as I put him in here, Tyrone Biggums. He was rostered in only 11.5% of leagues, projected 84 points. He finished with 182.3, so almost 100 point different there. And then Don Wicks, or Droppy McDropperson, he was projected 126.8. He finished with 110.5. If he would have caught every ball he dropped, he would have probably been the number one wideout. But he did not hit that projection. And then Tyler Conklin had the shell of Aaron Rodgers thrown to him, and he finished 6.5 points under his projection. I still finished positive, but only by 46.5. So you outscored me with the studs by 100 points, solid 100. If we move into the duds,
that's all we played was studs, though, right? I thought we only played studs this year. That was my understanding. Was we only cared about the studs, right? Right?
Well, no.
Fuck.
But if we look at the duds, this is where I make my money. This is my bread and butter. This is the only reason why I'm actually able to keep up with you in these sorts of sillinesses. But if we look at the duds, I had Mr. I'm too sleepy to keep playing football, Anthony Richardson. He was projected to be QB5 with 310 points. He finished with 181.5. So he was my biggest and the overall biggest swing with a 128.2 difference. After that, JT finished really close to his projection, but he was 12 points under it. So he was still technically a dud. JJ surprised many by finishing at 317, which was 35 points over his projection. And by surprising many, I meant Sam Darnold, not JJ. Al, I could tell you're fuming now. Writing, Dear Paul Allen, get a load of this. And then Kyle Pitts, thankfully, He finished as a dud, 36 points under his projection. Probably goes to that 4-week span where he didn't even get a target. But overall, my duds with a difference of 141. Gar, how dudley were you?
Oh, I gotta go poop. No, I was not very Dudley. For this first one, I can feel Al just screaming at me, dreaming me a new asshole already. But let the record show that I could go back and play the clip. I'm not going to, but I guarantee I remember exactly what I said. I said, Jaden Daniels is someone who has a very high ceiling, but a very low floor. And so I didn't believe he was happening this year, but I recognized that, with his athletic profile, with everything he could do, he had the potential to be amazing. And I did recognize that. And I just came up on the wrong side of the prediction. So I predicted him to be a dud. He was projected 290.4. His actual was 390.15. So that's over 100 points in the negative for me. It's a terrible differential for someone who I meant to be a dud. Kyron Williams, I thought was going to get vultured more by Blake Corum than he ever was. He was projected 233. He actually got 272. So that's another negative 39 for me. Malik Neighbors, I thought there's no chance that the Giants have any sort of success, and the Malik Neighbors would suffer because of that. And the Giants didn't really have much success, but Malik Neighbors was projected 222, and he actually got 273, so that's another negative 51 for me. And then the only one I got right, TJ Hawkinson, projected 130, actual 86.5. So that is a good differential for me, a positive differential for me of 43.6. And in some sort of statistical anomaly, I got exactly negative 147.7 in my dud differentials, and in my stud differentials, I had exactly 147.7. So in the game this year, I broke exactly even, and that's got to be a first for us in as many years as we played this. The QB position I did the best at. Baker Mayfield having a better differential than Jaden Daniels did. Kyron Williams hurt me a bit, so I had a negative 6.8 there. On the running backs between studs and duds. Wide receivers I was the worst at by far, and then tight ends I was my best position for points in the differential. But yeah, having exactly positive 147.7, then exactly negative 147.7. That's fucking crazy a little bit, honestly.
Plus, I had to redo math and everything just to make sure, because I was like, there's no way.
Right. So, but yeah, I broke even on the game.
I was impressed. Yeah.
Ladies.
Overall, quarterbacks was my best, just because of that Anthony Richardson pick there. I'd been touting that. I guess technically, if I knew numbers, I would realize running backs were my best, because I had both JT and Tyron Biggums as good numbers on that. But 110 for that.
Your
and then
single best swing was Richardson for sure.
Yeah. Wide receivers I struggled with. Apparently, I don't know wide receivers as well. And then running backs, 30 points. Overall, I had a 187.5 differential in the positive, so that's good. I also took the time to go back and look at all our other projections throughout the years.
Oh, here we go.
And so I set up a spreadsheet, but I didn't put it in there. I don't know if I did I did it real quick. So the math and the formulas might be off. I don't think they'd be off.
I'm not going to go back and fact check. So whatever you say is gospel, as far as I'm concerned.
But in the 5 years that we've done this, you actually have a quite commanding lead when it comes to the total points of studs and duds. I'm looking at I am terrible at picking studs. Going back to 2019, I was negative 138, 63, 63, negative 73, 22, and then 46.
So is this your best year? Is that what I just heard?
46. No, because I had a couple 60s in there.
Oh, sorry.
And then with duds, I am very hit or miss. So the first year we did it, 77.5, whatever. The next year, negative. So I lost 187 points on that. So I was terrible. Then the next year, 470 points. Very good. That was the year that you gave me the kiss of death. Year after that, negative 118. So just right back in the other direction. Last year, 130. This year, 141. So I have a little bit of consistency. And so I saw that 470, and I was like, holy cow, there's no way Garlic beats me. Greg, I don't think you've ever finished negative. I'm looking at these numbers here. Oh no, you had 2 years where you finished negative,
But
and
not that
you were
negative.
negative 34 and negative 60.
Yeah.
The first year you were positive 280. 2022 you were 182. Last year you crushed it with 383, and then this year you broke even.
To be
so
fair,
yeah,
we
you
did
were
had to, in your defense, we did end up modifying the rules a little bit because I would scrape the absolute bottom of the barrel for some of those stud picks so that they had to be a stud, you know. So you put in the new roster rule, which I'm sure if that were in place every year, my numbers would not be quite the same. But you know what? I was playing by the rules that were established at the time, and I like to win a game whenever I can. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like looking back at. Well, I guess hang on here. I was looking at the wrong the wrong stud side because yeah, no, yeah, no, you, yep,
Go
yep.
ahead.
Sammy Watkins in 2022. Mitch Trubisky. Okay. Tony Jones. Do you even remember what team he played for?
Yeah, he was a running back for the fucking New Orleans Saints, brother. Come on, give me a little credit.
Okay. Sam Darnold.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Why do you sound like Mr. Mackey right
I don't know. I did look at some of the player names just to like. I went back and it's just like, holy crap! I forgot that guy played in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So like not Darren Waller, Will Fuller.
Ooh, classic Will Fuller the fifth.
Yep. Darius Geis.
Oh my God, that's a name I've not thought of since.
Right.
Darius Geis. Holy shit.
Yep. Devonta Freeman. I mean, I mentioned Tony Jones, Mo Alley Cox, Zamir White. I mean, he's not that old, but yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of fun to go back and look at that. But moving on to the
what I'm hearing you say is I'm just significantly better than you. Is all I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, but if we're gonna go based on the new rules, so you know how when it's like the AFL NFL merger. Sure. Since this is the first year of the new rules, maybe we call this the proper stud dud merger.
That's fine. I don't care.
I'm crushing you, loser. All
right, we'll see what happens next year, partner. I just gotta, you know, hone it in a little bit. I gotta just get used to the new rules, and then I'll crush you yet again. A little time.
I mean, if you finish even again, I'd be impressed.
I'm good. Yeah, I think that'd be the more important game. It's like, can you get exactly 0? Because that'll never happen again, even if we tried.
Yeah, you had one player in like the years that we did that hit their projection exactly.
Oh,
that
really?
I noticed.
So I got a knack for hitting the zeros.
That was Aaron Jones.
Ooh, shout out. Vikings legend Aaron Jones.
Yeah, at least until you guys want to gather pitchforks and torches when he fumbles on the goal line to lose you guys the game against the Rams next week.
All right, let's fucking relax. So do you have anything else about the studs and duds?
Nope, I just wanted to do that today, and then
it's fun. I like that. I appreciate you taking the time. We'll move on then to the 2-7, or actually real quick, just because it tickles my fancy. We'll look at the top performers for the fantasy year. I'll just go top 5 by position, just for fun. Total points. I'll do actually top 5 averages per position. So for QBs, it was Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and I guess by average, Jimmy Garoppolo was in there. He's the 5th best average for this year. That's kind of crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, Jimmy Garoppolo's in there. What did he play? I don't even remember him playing this year. And then Jaden Daniels was actually 5th if we're not looking at the fucking one game that Jimmy Garoppolo played. Do you remember what team was Jimmy Garoppolo even on this year? It looks like he's on the Rams. Holy shit. Anyways, I was not expecting that. Sorry. So no necessarily surprises there, other than Baker Mayfield being a top 5 points per game. That's probably a bit of a surprise. Yeah.
I read somewhere. I don't know if I remember it quite accurately, but I think he's thrown the most touchdown passes since he signed with Tampa Bay. In the league. That
one surprised me. And then notably missing from the top 5, one of the top QBs off the board would be Patrick Mahomes, and he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12. He was 13th by average. Again, I don't know, there's 2 names ahead of him, like Joe Milton and Jimmy Garoppolo, but still, he's not top 5, nowhere near top 5. So Going to running back average per game, Saquon Barkley, of course, Jamar Gibbs, of course, Bijan was third, Derrick Henry was fourth, Alvin Kamara fifth. I know I don't want to say anything necessarily overly surprising there. Saquon Barkley and Jamar Gibbs were two of the top running backs off the board. Derrick Henry as well. Alvin Kamara, I think a bit of a surprise. I think he was getting faded much more than people would like to admit now, because of course, like, oh yeah, I had him on my team or whatever. But Alvin Kamara was definitely getting faded based on draft position. Moving on.
He was my. When
I
Nikita picked
know
him,
you liked him, Josh. I'm saying the general consensus.
Well, okay. General consensus from you?
I mean, all the drafts I was in, I guess it's anecdotal, but yeah, all the drafts I was in, Alvin Kamara was going well below what his ADP was. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what happened.
I don't know. It happens.
Right.
Next year, it'll happen. CMC will go in the third round, and he'll put up 500 points.
Classic. Moving on to wide receivers, top 5 in points per game was Jamar Chase, of course. Actually, Chris Godwin was second, but he was hurt for much of the year. So then after that is Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and then T. Higgins would be, sixth or fifth, depending on whether or not you want to count Chris Godwin. But having 2 Bengals wide receivers in the top 5 as far as averages go, of course, there's injuries in play and everything else. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. Justin Jefferson did make it. Puka Nacua being that high, I think surprises me just a wee bit. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was fading the Rams this year, but Puka Nacua being second or third, depending on how you count, it's good. CeeDee Lamb was down at 6th. Of course, he went on IR eventually. He
only missed 1 game. Puka missed like 5 or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, if you were to go by season points, I'll just change the sorting real quick. So if you go by season points, it's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas Jr., and then Drake London were the top 5 in total fantasy points for the season. So obviously availability is a good ability, but Jamar Chase had 86 more points or 85 more points than Justin Jefferson. So that was the difference between wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, which is like four or 5 games depending on which receiver you are. So that's a crazy difference. Jamar Chase was far and above. Do you think Jamar Chase ends up being, to Walter's question, I think he asked it earlier in the Discord, not today, but earlier, like weeks before. Do you think Saquon Barkley or Jamar Gibbs is likely to be the top one overall next year because of how they played, and because running backs are a little bit more scarce? Or do you think because Jamar Chase was so much more dominant and had put up the most fantasy points by far over the season, do you think he could go the 101? As far as ADP goes,
it's probably going to be Chase,
really?
Just because, yeah. Or I guess Barkley. To me, it's like a coin flip between Chase and Barkley.
Obviously, it would depend on whether you're PPR or not. I'm sure, but
yeah, and so naturally, whichever one I do decide on is the one that's going to stink. So yeah, right now, both of them.
Josh does love to be his own kiss of death, for sure. Okay, and then we'll just do tight ends real quick. In average points per game, it was George Kittle was first, Trey McBride was second, Brock Bowers third, rookie sensation. David Njoku, who ended up on IR when he was injured a bunch, was in fourth, and then Jonnu Smith, probably surprising some people, was in fifth. If you go by total points for the season, it's Brock Bowers had the most, Trey McBride second, George Kittle third, Jonnu Smith fourth, and Travis Kelce in fifth. Mark Andrews was there right behind him in sixth. So Travis Kelce, probably the number 1 tight end off everyone's board, and then George Kittle and Mark Andrews down there. So still top 6, but the difference between Brock Bowers in first at 262 and Travis Kelce in fifth at 195 is, what is that, 60, 70, almost 70 points. So quite a bit of drop off. I know no one ever expects too much from the tight end, but if you hit on Brock Bowers this year, you definitely hit hard. So that's nice. But yeah, do you think the years of Travis Kelce being the first tight end off the board are officially over? They got to be, right?
Well, most mocks that I had seen and like ADPs had him as the third tight end off the board this year.
Really?
It was just our league with Jeremy taking him in the first round. That, yeah, because I'm trying to remember, like there were 2 taken ahead of him that I remember seeing, and I can't remember. I think Trey McBride was one of them, and then I think the other one was Mark Andrews.
Could be. I mean, going back to, I'm pretty sure I remember all my draft sheets. Travis Kelce was higher, but who really cares? I mean, it's not, we're not trying to go for hard facts here, but But those were all the top performers. I just wanted to go over those real quick since we're here at the end of the season, and that's interesting. It's just interesting to see like who was up there versus who was drafted. Not too many surprises, but Baker Mayfield sneaks up there. Malik Neighbors was definitely hit a ceiling. Jaden Daniels definitely hit a ceiling. Brock Bowers hit a ceiling. Those sorts of things are exciting for the young players or the players that surprise a little bit. But Josh, I think we should keep it rolling here and move on to the 272. Are you ready for that? Or do you need me to vamp for you?
I got it.
All right. So the 272, Josh, I know I was just going through kind of all the top players. And so if you scroll down a little bit, I showed you, of course you could just sort your sheet, but I did show you how many zeros you had, how many ones you had, and those sorts of things. So I don't know how you want to go over your own 272 result. It's totally up to you, but just want to let you know I did throw a little bit of extra data on your sheet. But yeah, how'd you do this year? And Josh, in the 272, of course, we do the week-to-week predictions. We predict every single game. But what really matters is just the overall record, how we thought they were going to do versus how they did. So how'd you do this year, Josh?
Well, I guess not the best. Game by the game for the 272, I finished with like 57%. So, when you think about it, it's not the best number, but that's every single game played, not accounting for injuries, not accounting for trends, rookies, things like that. So I'll take it. Anything above, 50 in that regard is fine by me. The difference count, I don't remember, previous years. I want to say that usually the NFC North is my best. Minnesota ruined that for me. Everybody, they overperformed on theirs. This year, it looks like my two best would be the NFC and AFC South. Shockingly, I guess.
Okay. You're just a guy. Josh, are you a good old boy all of a sudden?
Well, the South will rise again. I'm trying to look here and see if there's any other big standouts there. Nope, not that I can think of.
It looks like week to week, for whatever reason, Baltimore was your best team week to week. Do you think that's just because they stayed mostly intact for the team they were supposed to be? I can't remember off the top of my head any major injuries out of Baltimore. So do you think that's why you had an 82.35% on your week to week average, and you were only one off on the overall? You had them going 13-4. They actually go 12-5. So what do you think stands out about Baltimore that you're able to get so good on the week to week?
I don't even know. That's impressive. Yeah, I think the consistency there. They'd been good last year, and then they didn't. They brought in somebody to make them better, and so that's kind of where I was at going through it. So yeah, keep the core pieces the same, bring in strength. That's gonna kind of be a recipe for success there. I'm looking at it again, or going down here. Yeah, Indy, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee, all at that 76% range. That's not bad. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, not too many. I guess Green Bay usually is one of my top ones, and week to week I was only 47%, but overall I was only one game off. So that's kind of funny. The games that I thought they'd win, they didn't, and then the games I thought they'd lose, they did, or they didn't, and yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, see, that's why the overall is obviously the better metric, because you're like, I think this team will go 12-5. How they get there is on their own. But yeah, they ended up getting 11 wins, so you're just one game off, despite, like you said, getting most of the matchups wrong. But it is what it is. Overall, Josh had 4 teams exactly right. He had Indy, KC, New Orleans, and Philly, all exactly on the nuts for how many wins he predicted versus how many wins they actually got. He had 4 teams that were just one win away: Baltimore, Green Bay, the Rams, and the Giants. And then he had 8. I won't list everyone, but he had 8 teams that were just 2 games away. So overall, teams that were within 2 games, he had 16. So half the league Josh had within 2 games of what they overall finished. So Josh, I'd say, was doing pretty darn good for himself. And then he had a couple extremes there as well. I did not have a team that was 11 games off. Josh did with the Washington Commanders, but I think the Washington Commanders surprised most people. And then the Jets, Josh, I don't know if it was because you just still believed in Aaron Rodgers or if you thought the team's talent was just too good, but you were 9 wins off on the Jets. What do you think happened there?
Yeah, I think that I expected Rodgers to actually be somewhat competent for the part of the season, and then like their defense really fell off. So I don't know, they just they lost games that they just shouldn't have lost. And yeah, it's sad to see Rodgers kind of fizzle out like that. But then at the same time, he's not a good person.
Have Have you watched his Enigma, or do you plan to?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get drug tested, and I feel like that's one of those shows that's probably going to get you high.
It just might have a contact high. All right, so we'll move on to talk about me real quick. So overall, week to week, I just barely squeaked out Josh. He said he got 57%. If you round up, I got 59% in week to week, so just barely better. But getting, near to 60% of the week to week games right, I'll take that. In overall, looking at the different divisions like Josh did, it looks like not week to week, but overall, my best divisions were it was not my best year, honestly, but it looks like it's a lot of ties for 11 games off. So the AFC North, the AFC South, and the AFC East, I was overall, and the NFC South, I was overall just combined 11 games off. But yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, this year I feel like was just not my best year. I feel like last year we had a lot more teams that were within 2 games, whereas this year it's just 16. For both of us, I had 4 teams at 0 away, 5 teams at 1 games away, and then 7 teams at 2 games away. I nailed Miami doing what they did. I was pretty close on the Chargers and the Raiders and the Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. Rough. And I got the Buccaneers right on the nuts as well. But yeah, I did not see Denver or Washington do what they do. I was 9 games off on both Denver and Washington. I was 8 games off of Minnesota. I, of course, did not predict the Minnesota Vikings to get 14 wins this season. And ultimately, it is what it is. I got 4 of the 7 AFC playoff teams right. I got 3 of the 7 NFC playoff teams right. My Super Bowl prediction in the preseason was Houston-Detroit. Of course, I'm not going to pick Houston this go around. I predicted the demise of Buffalo preseason, and they definitely overperformed what I expected of them. Right now, if I had to pick the Super Bowl, I think I'm going Buffalo-Detroit. For what I think the Super Bowl matchup will be, and I would give the edge to Buffalo in that, but I think it would be a fun game no matter what. Josh, what do you think who do you think is going to come out of the playoffs on top? What do you think for your Super Bowl matchup?
Well, looking at this here, and I'm looking at the NFL playoff bracket sheet, and I've got Green Bay Packers taking on the Buffalo Bills. It's not going to happen. No. I think Buffalo does make a run at it. But I don't know. Honestly, if it's not an NFC North team, it'll be surprising. Detroit,
we have a 3 out of 7 chance, right? So
right, yeah. Detroit is a likely option, but I would not be shocked if the Buccaneers made a run as well.
Really, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a footy dud. I just don't see the Buccaneers getting that high. To me, the NFC certainly has to be Detroit or Philly. And maybe that's just me being biased, but I just don't think the Buccaneers are ready. I don't think the Commanders are ready. Surely don't think the Rams, the Packers or the Vikings are that good either. As far as like Super Bowl caliber, of course they're good enough to make the playoffs in this and that. But to me, the difference between Detroit and Philly and everyone else is crazy. And the gap between Detroit and Philly is even big in my mind. But, Detroit seems to keep going despite losing half their team to injury at this point. It's crazy, but
yeah, could you imagine if it's like a Denver, LA Super Bowl?
That would be nuts. Or Denver, Washington, even. Just
the hype for it would be just none. I mean, Denver, Washington, at least they could spin the rookie QBs doing it. But Pittsburgh, who's just absolutely struggled the second half of the season with Russell Wilson. Pittsburgh and LA, how are they going to spin that?
I mean, once you get to that point, of course, they would have, it would be really how they won their playoff games. If they were winning their playoff games in exciting I mean, we've seen, quarterbacks like Joe Flacco get hot. We watched Nick Foles get hot. Teams that really surprise you or players that really surprise you. By the time you get to the Super Bowl, the attitudes from now change, just like the attitudes from, 18 weeks ago before the season were definitely different. So it's easy to say that now, but by then we would have watched Bo Nix hypothetically win 3 playoff games, whatever it is, and we'd be like, this dude is the real, this dude is the illest in this hypothetical future, and so there would be hype without question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here and I can already picture it. I don't even know who's doing the broadcast. Is it Collinsworth? Let's just say it's Chris Collinsworth, sure. And he goes, And he goes, "It's a shock to me that Kansas City lost to Pittsburgh as Chris Boswell hits his 27th field goal of the playoffs, giving the Pittsburgh Steelers an 18-14 victory over Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, fuck.
Pittsburgh hasn't scored a single touchdown this postseason, yet made it to the Super Bowl."
Do you think they would give a kicker Super Bowl MVP?
I would hope so, because do you know how many riots I would incite if they gave it to Russell Wilson? Chris Boswell goes 27 for 27 in the postseason 27 for 27. And then in the Super Bowl, Russell Wilson has a 1-yard quarterback sneak for a touchdown, and they win like 16-10. And they give it to Russell Wilson because he got a 1-yard quarterback sneak, 10 for 24 for 140 yards and 3 interceptions. But Chris Boswell, I would be so furious.
Quarterback touched the ball on every play, bro. What can you do about it?
So does the center.
Fuck. Oh my god. Oh, that was good. I wasn't ready for that.
And his post-game speech is going to be, let's smelt, or I don't even know.
Yeah, I never
Steel eyes.
I never caught what his catchphrase was for this year. I've not been paying attention to Russell Wilson. But okay. All right. So that's for fun. And I've already sent out the text for the NFL Bracket Challenge. If by chance you're listening to this and did not get a text from me, feel free to reach out and I'll send you all the info. The info is the same as it has been the past 18 years I've been doing it. I literally just copied and pasted the text from last year. Didn't even change anything. So, otherwise, Josh, I know we're already at 45 minutes here, which is a little longer than we've been going this year, but I saw the suggestions you put for the Hidden Oaks redraft league. You just want to change the defensive settings. You want to do points per first down. I added a Reddit link in there. I didn't expect you to read through it necessarily, but I just use that to catalog what other people are doing to jog some ideas for us. But anything else? Has anything else come to your mind about changes you'd want to see either in the Hidden Oaks redraft league or maybe something to try in the Champs League or anything else that is you'd like to see change in fantasy in general, or you feel like we have things pretty honed in and you're just ready to fucking actually try next year?
I honestly want to do a golf league
where you try to get the lowest amount of points.
Yeah, and then getting 0 nets you 25 or whatever. They have. I was looking around Reddit, diving into the trenches. And they have, I think, sites that have it so you could have, they do it for you. Ooh. And I would just love that. I just think it'd be hilarious to watch people's brains melt trying to figure out why they're doing this.
Sure.
They're like, oh my goodness, Lamar Jackson's a free agent. Gotta pick him up, but I can't.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I would definitely do something like that for maybe $20 or something. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it, but it's fun to try the goofy things. I've definitely fully embraced
the Champs League.
I mean, that Champs League's only not this year for the Champs League. That'd have to be the year after, because next year I pretty much already have the Champs League ironed out on what I want to do. So,
the Guillotine Golf League, highest score gets eliminated.
That would be terrible. Maybe in year 10. I plan on doing the guillotine thing for the Champs League every 5 years. So maybe in year 10 we could do the Guillotine Golf League. Oh fuck, that would be that. It does sound fun. It does sound fun for sure. But all right, yeah. I mean, anything else, or you just feel? I didn't do the survey this year. I don't know. I feel like the survey answers were getting more and more unserious, which is fine. I wanted to do it for a while just to get things honed in. I feel like as a league, we have things pretty honed in. Maybe I'd suggest we, instead of adding a bench spot, we just add an IR spot next season. Because the 5-person bench is pretty shallow, but also I think people enjoy all the available free agents. So we'll see how they feel. But other than that, I feel like most of the leagues we have pretty honed in at this point, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. All right, Josh. Well, I think this is going to be the last show of the year. I think in a hypothetical world where either the Packers or the Vikings make the Super Bowl, maybe we get on the airwaves one more time and just give the people our thoughts. Otherwise, this is it for the year, man. We've done a couple times where we do shows every month, or we do, or we'll just come back for the draft either way. But yeah, I think we've had overall, this is our seventh season doing the podcast, Josh. Is that fucking bizarre?
Average NFL career is 3 years, so What's their problem?
Ladies. But no, obviously a pleasure doing it with you, Josh, and obviously we have gotten a lot more lackadaisical this past year. I can't promise we put in a lot more effort next year, but we do it as a hobby, if nothing else. So maybe we'll do that NFL player draft thing. I know Josh said he saw someone on Reddit maybe that did it, like they hosted it. So I would love to play that. It was just a bitch kind of hosting and trying to put the data together every week. So. But we'll look for at least one sort of pod play along game next year, whether it's we go back to the daily fantasy or we do the locks and upsets again. We'll do something as a league. Maybe we'll just do a survivor. We'll do a sleeper survival pool or something, or a pick 'em league. We'll figure out something for a pod play along. But otherwise, we love you, lovely people. We know at this point, at the beginning of the season, we got the Bryans and the Brads, and maybe the Tims and some other people listening. I think Jack's over us at this point. But to the people still listening, I believe we've got Al for sure, we've got Walters for sure, we've got Nikita for sure, and to whoever else pops in from time to time. We love you, we appreciate you, and we probably, if we had 0 listeners, we might stop, but. We're here to enjoy ourselves, and we're so glad you come along on the ride with us. So, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy that we've done over 200 episodes at this point. I don't know. It's just interesting, man.
Yeah. The more you know. But Odin is whining, so I'm going to get out so I can see what his problem is. Then I'm probably going to go pass out.
Sounds good. But yeah, you need to get some sleep, man. Insomnia is no good for no one. So you go get some sleep, and we don't have to worry about doing this next Tuesday. We're off the hook until April probably. So see you around.
Wowzers.
I know. See you around, unless one of our teams make the playoffs. I think we'll have to, or make the Super Bowl. Then I think we'll have to come back just for a little quick pod. But love you, Josh.
Yeah, real quick if it's Vikings. I'll just let you know.
All right, you motherfucker, get the fuck out of here.
Go Packers. Gar.
What's up, Josh?
I'd like to save my real content for these post credits, and I just want you to picture this.
Okay.
Kevin O'Connell on the sideline. It's week 18, and then he looks over and he sees that, I don't know if you saw the Dan Campbell grin, that little shit-eating grin that he had on the sideline during the game. Did you see that?
Yeah, a little bit.
When he was going for it, it was just like this big ear-to-ear grin. What came through my mind is Dan Campbell's sitting over there, and he watches as Kevin O'Connell puts his, iPod Shuffle in his pocket, puts an earbud in, and Dan Campbell's over there, and he smiles because he knows he just changed Kevin O'Connell's entire playlist to the Cars for Kids theme song.
You gonna sing it for us?
1877 Cars for Kids, man. 1877 Cars for Kids, man. 1877 Cars for Kids, man. Donate your car today, man.